Hey guys, what's cracking? Godsman here, coming back with more premium selection reveals. And I've been out of it for a few days. College is quite a time consumer, if I do say so myself, so there's been a lot of reveals that have stacked up. So I'm getting my homework done, I'm done procrastinating, let's go through them here. So we've got a pretty long videos this time around actually. Maybe I'll section it off, maybe I won't, we'll see, but yeah, let's start off with Kagero. So for Kagero, we've got Divine Dragon Knight Balakart. So Balakart's got one singular effect, which is that on Van, when he attacks, you flip up any card in the G zone. If your opponent has 3 or more open rear circle, he gets a plus 10k power, a crit, and a drive until the end of the battle. But if they have 5 or more, then all your rear guards also get plus 10k. I'm gonna level the Chief. I'm not the hottest on Balakart. Here's the thing about Kagero as a clan. It's cool that this is based on what Kagero should be doing, which is the Blade Master style, a la retiring the opponent's rears. The thing about it though is the bulwark of retiring the opponent's rears should be coming from the Vanguard effect itself, right? This one is the opposite. This one is benefiting off of presumably either your rear guard's doing something about it, or you're playing against a matchup that self-retires or bounces or binds or what have you, right? They've wiped their own field. So yeah, okay, in a situation where they don't have any field, this may seem kind of neat, but then again, we still have things like Domjin, we still have things like Ziegenberg even, right? And those are restanders. Those seem a bit more beneficial. Cool, this is virtually costless in order to get your crit and your drive, so you are plussing on top of having a fairly threatening Van attack, right? But it just doesn't seem like it meshes with a lot of playstyles. One of the exceptions to this though, and I like this deck at premium, is a Draconic Lawkeeper deck. Now in Lawkeeper I can see this being played maybe at a couple copies, but that's because Lawkeeper doesn't really need like a lot of G-Zone to use. The Lawkeeper strategy in of itself is the whole point. You know, you have a Van that's can be beefy during the opponent's turn that can also disrupt their offense during their turn. So this could be a good follow-up to that potentially if they decide to just not call anything, although I don't see why they wouldn't. But yeah, overall, I'm not too hot on Balakart. It might see some play. I'm probably going to put in Draconic Lawkeeper, but that's not because it's that great. It's because there's just space. So Sarima here is our G-Guard, Flaming Dragon Dancer Sarima, and she's a bit better. So reduce the cards you discard for this cost by 1 for every open rear circle your opponent controls. When this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, you Soul Blast 1 and discard 4 cards. Choose one of your units and it cannot be hit until the end of that battle. Okay, so again with the G-Guard PGs, this one can be pretty costly, but of course if you're popping stuff, that's great. Your opponent, maybe they did some, again, you know, it's kind of like Balakart where, okay, some way or another, either the opponent did it or you did it. But they got some open rear circles, right? So this is a bit situational, but I do like this because generally speaking, when the opponent is wiping out their own field, it's also pretty indicative of a fairly strong offense, either like a Van-centric offense, or you got rid of those for cost a la Tachikaze or Shadow Paladin. So in that case, you probably want a pseudo PG, right? So this, unlike Balakart, this actually meshes a lot better. And so yeah, I think that's my impression on these Kagero units. They're not eating quite well. I think Balakart's kind of disappointing. Maybe you'll see some play or not, but hey, at least got a G-Guard, right? And now let's move on to the next reveals. And we're back. Bermuda Triangle. OuterOrange did this lovely reveal. Gonna have a link to her down in the description. Pretty cool video. Really went in depth with these cards, some more in depth than I'm probably gonna be able to, but hey, let's get a shot anyway, right? Because content, fellas. So Bermuda, not exactly my favorite clan. As a matter of fact, I'd say it's my least favorite clan, but I'll review like any other clan just to be impartial. So we've got Radiant Ocean Heltroda. I'm not sure if I pronounced Heltroda right or Heltruda. I think it's Heltroda, right? Yeah, whatever, right? It's the scribe. So one effect, but it's a doozy of effect. I keep on saying that. It's what it is, though. So when it attacks, you pitch 3 from hand as the cost. You bounce all cards on your circles, other than the van circle, of course, to your hand. Then you choose up to 2 cards in your hand, call them to rear. At the end of that battle, you can CB1 and Soul Blast 1, put this card to your G-Zone face up, choose one of your vanguards, and stand it. Next stage, in Bermuda Triangle, question mark? Yeah, this is basically the old next stage effect. It's all there, right? You've got the pitch 3, you've got the move from G-Zone and then stand your vanguard, just like it was with Chronojet, right? So this does that too, and this is incredible, because unlike next stage, this is really, really generic. I don't think I need to say it, fellas, but I'm a really fan of strides that allow your V Series Vanguard Grade 3s to actually get a chance to use their effects prior to you striding. In this case, it's sort of like the opposite of, say, the DI one, right? Where you begin on the stride, and then you end off with the Grade 3, whereas sometimes it's the other way around. I like this one a lot, though, as much as it pains me to say, because I don't like Bermuda. This is fan-freaking-tastic, because let's look at it objectively, right? Pitch 3 is fine because you triple drive, so in a sense you're kind of negging 1 because then you'll just presumably only get a twin drive with whatever Vanguard you stood. That was the heart. But hey, it's a perfectly fine neg 1 because what do you get for it? You get to have all this bounce back, so a part of your pitch effect isn't going to be the cards you bounce back, but because you're bouncing back cards, you still got good hand advantage. You can call down those triggers as boosters and then bring them back to your hand anyway. So your hand is not dying. You've got plenty of options. But then you're calling 2 cards, so this is already 2 extra attacks of your choice. You could literally just bounce back stuff and recall them to the field, or you can call different stuff. Whatever you triple drived, maybe. But then on top of that, this is an extra 3 attacks minimum because the van attack is going 2. Now, there's all sorts of ways you can take this, right? This can work with Prism, this works with Ange, this works with the Referee Raid, potentially. I don't know so much about the Referee Raid, but I've seen it. I think one of my favorite interpretations is Feltia Rosa at Premium might be a thing, a la how Blackberg got to be more viable with the Aqua Force stride that just came out. That thing's nuts too. But yeah, for pitch 3 and Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, this is perfectly permissible. A minimum 3 extra attacks validates your grade 3 like V units, and on top of that, there's a lot of options, and it's very, very, very splashable, pun absolutely intended. It's disgustingly great, like one of the best strides. There's nothing to fault with this card. It's immaculate. Now, the G-Guard here is also pretty freaking strong. So we've got Diva Salvation Lucrece, I believe, or Lucrece. I don't speak whatever language that is. And don't say English, sassy you. Okay, so when this unit's put on Guardian Circle, Counterblast 1, and return a normal unit from your rear circle to your hand. Sure, alright. You perform the effect according to the grade of the card returned to the hand for the cost. So if it's a 2 or less that you bounced back, it gets plus 15k shield. But if you bounced a 3 or higher, then your Vanguard's going to get a 5k until end of turn. So very much like how the Aqua Force G-Guard gives a defensive 5k for the rest of the turn, seemingly, this one does it too. But this one I like a bit better because let's look at the facts, right? With that one, you had to do it specifically on the first wave. And now don't get me wrong, that is a very intelligent timing because you get maximum use out of your defensive. You get it right away on the first battle. But then at the same time, you're kind of forced to do it then and there. With this one, you can choose when to G-Guard as long as you've got cards on the field. Sure, if they field wipe you, a la Kagero, right? Not with battle card. Then this is pretty pointless, but I think that goes for a lot of the G-Guards that interact with your field, and that's less of a downside and more of a, this thing isn't like, this thing can't be played around. Like, sure, it can be played around technically with that, but okay, I digress. Moving on, the 15k for 2 or less, I also like, because let's think of it another way. If you're calling down a grade 1 or a grade 0, that's pretty strong shields, potentially, and you're not making use of it in most cases. So not only are you getting a 15k shield, which makes this a 30 defense, that's great, that's crit sentinel numbers, but then by adding that back to your hand, that, like, puts it back into circulation to be guarded with. The 3 or more is cool, on the other hand, because that thing wasn't defending you no matter what. Like, That grade 3 wasn't probably going to help unless you're playing something like, I don't know, Melody or whatever. But even in Melody, maybe you play this anyway. But by bouncing it back to your hand, you've secured Stride Fodder or Persona Rider, anything of that nature, right? So yeah, overall, really good versatility with the bounce back. And on top of that, I think the only grade you don't want to bounce back is 2, but because it says 2 or less, there's a lot of more favorable grades you can do instead. So yeah, bouncing back Interceptor probably isn't going to help, but there's a lot of other stuff you can bounce back. So very versatile, very strong, good effects. You're going to play it probably. And yeah. That's Bermuda Triangle. They got gassed up, they got a lot of good stuff, as per usual. Nothing else really to say. There's just so much versatility here that I myself can't really explain. Go to OuterOrange's channel that I'll link again. Yeah, she'll give you the rundown. Okay, now moving on to the next ones. And we're back. Okay, so Nubatama is up next. I was kind of curious for Nubatama, wanted to see where they go with it. Nubatama's always been one of those clans that has like interesting little gimmicky effects. That can be pretty devastating if the situation lines up. A pretty sneaky clan, although of course they're ninjas, so I guess that's apropos, right? So let's see what they got. What new bag of tricks did they get? So we got Rikudo, Stealth Rogue, Yasuka Lord. So Yasuka Lord has one big effect, which is act on Van Circle. You counterblast 1 and soul blast 1. You choose 3 unit cards. Yes, this can include triggers from your opponent's drop. So you're choosing 3 from the drop, their drop specifically. Your opponent chooses any number of them and calls them to rear circle. Their auto abilities do not activate during this call. For each unit called, your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand and discards it. For each card you chose that was not called, you draw 1, and all of your front row get plus 10k to end the turn. I don't know really how to feel about Yasuka Lord. I think if the situation lines it up properly, this is definitely like pretty cool in terms of like a resource shenanigan. Discard has always been a part of Nubatama, and getting some card advantage is also pretty cool. This isn't like very aggressive though. Sure, okay, your front row gets plus 10k, and the fact that this is an act means you can call down a bunch of stuff and then do that. But the combo ability of it, I'm not so sure. Sure, you can do things like Old Fudai, which, if I remember correctly, Old Fudai had abilities to call things from drop to rear, so that was one thing. I think Shiranu Ryobodo might have had an effect that helped out with that too. Don't quote me on that though. So there's ways to call things from drop to rear and then just have them call over so they're not like getting any good economy with it. But that is a very tough thing to manage, right? Because if your opponent says yes, sure, okay, they just break even, but they're gonna have triggers on the field, which surprisingly enough kind of feels like Shadow Powder Witches at that point. Am I the only one that got that vibe? I might be the only one that got that vibe. I don't think so though. So yeah, does that sound devastating to you? If it does, this is pretty strong. But if you're like, meh, yeah, the opponent can play around this pretty easy, then you're probably not gonna stride in this. You're probably still gonna go into Jakumeso and then into Rene and then so on and so forth. So I think the general line of play in terms of strides is not gonna change. Yasuka Lord doesn't like add anything to that. He might be a one of though, because no, he doesn't flip up anything, so he is perfect as a one of if you think he's useful for that. So what does the G-Guard do? So Rikudo Stealth Rogue Mori Lord has one effect. So when it's put to the Guardian Circle, you do Counterblast 1, and this unit gets plus 5k shield until end of turn not end of turn, battle, for each card in your opponent's hand. If your opponent has 4 or fewer cards in hand, you draw 1. I love this thing right here. This has the potential to be beefy. Imagine it. Your opponent has, I just said imagine, that's a meme in Vanguard, right? But yeah, seriously, imagine it. They're swinging, they're building up their hand, and then they got like 10 cards. You slap this down, gets plus 50k shield. You're just saying, hey, over trigger to pass, like easy for a counterblast. Like such a secure, strong guard right there. That's so strong as a guard. And if your opponent like just has F all, then congrats, you still get a pretty decent shield, but then you draw back. So it's totally a break even aside from the counterblast. So yeah, the draw is just nice icing on top. Make sure you're not negging with your guard. And then, I mean, come on, 5k for each card in the opponent's hand. This isn't like standard or something, guys. This is premium. everybody be farming up the hand. So this really makes sense. This makes perfect sense for Nubatama, right? You know, it's all about the hand advantage and punishing the hand advantage. So it's in theme, it's powerful, it's relevant, it's versatile thanks to the draw. Perfect. One of my favorite G guards this set. Might have gone a bit hard on that, but it's a fact that this is my opinion. It's weird to say that opinion is a fact, but that's true. Okay. So yeah, Yatsuka Lord, debatable, but Moria Lord, fan-freaking-tastic. And now, moving on to the next ones. And we're back again. So, Link Joker. I was excited for this one. I was wondering what Link Joker was going to get. And, to your Messiah players out there, you're going to be pleasantly surprised, but other Link Joker players, don't fret. This is pretty generic. So, what does it do? What we got here today for you, and by the way, as you see that's English, that means someone revealed it. That would be WCC. So yes, link in the channel for this too. You might see two links if I decide to make this in the same video as when I reviewed Bermuda. If not, then okay, ignore that. But anyway, so Nebula Dragon, Cosmic Dawn Dragon. Again, Dragon, name convention. The set is just Dragon. That's what it is. But yeah, pretty sick name overall. I love the name. I don't know why I like to review the names a little bit, but to me it just adds to it all. So, oh, and it's a Cyber Dragon type, which yes, it does matter fringely. So, okay, when this unit attacks on Van, it's got one effect. You counterblast one. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck and choose up to 2 cards from among them, put them on rear circle as block and shuffle your deck. Then choose any number of your locked cards and unlock each card or return it to your hand. For each card that you return to the hand, your opponent chooses one of the rear guards and locked it. So there's a lot to consider with this one. For one thing, this is supremely splashable. This is very splashable. You can, of course, play this in Messiah, which getting those Volks out is very incredible. But then also in things like Starvader and Deleters, you can get your pieces out this way and then bounce them back to your hand. If you want to be that guy, you can get out your perfect guards from top 7, then bounce them back to your hand just to get some defensive stuff, right? And then when you add to that the fact that if you just unlock them, it can be a form of multi-attack depending on the situation. You know, it's pretty good. It's a +2 either way. However, let's go deeper than that, right? Let's go beneath the surface. There's some stipulations here. For one, if you're bouncing up to the hand, you are doing field disruption for your opponent. Your opponent chooses the locks, so it's a little bit weaker, but because it's like 2 at a time, your opponent's going to be annoyed like a mother effer regardless. Yeah, there's just not really an easy way around it, especially if you're playing things such as Zirconium or whatnot, which is just going to force them to put even more cards as locks. At that point, they're just kind of crap out of luck, right? So yeah, that's an important thing to know. Another thing to know is that when you're doing this, your lock cards isn't just these 2. So if you're playing things like Messiah, you're unlocking 3 or more even, potentially, right? So that's more multi-attack potential, but it also means that you can lock even more of the opponent's stuff. You choose to bounce them back to the hand instead. So yeah, whether you're trying to go for a disruptive control type or an aggressive type, which is one of the Messiah side of things, right? You've got versatility there. One other thing to note, this is not a once per turn. It's just a when it attacks, you counterblast 1. So if from the top 7 you get your Burst Monk, unlock the Burst Monk, and high roll a grade 3 off the top, you can do this again. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You attack with it yet again. You CB1, get those 2 lock cards again, especially, and you might be like, well, you're flooding the field, it's redundant, right? Not if you bounced cards to your hand, it's not. If you bounced them to your hand, then guess what? You got 2 free zones. Amazing, right? So yeah, of course you're unlocking the Burst Monk, so that's not a free zone, but come on, you guys are smart. You'll figure out how the field works with it, right? So yeah, you're getting just another +2 on top of it just being a triple drive again. So yeah, a lot of plussing there. If you achieve that, you might just win the game outright, but even if not, it's such a big power move, it's such a resource generator, and it has that side of disruption, which is what we want from Link Joker unit. So yeah, Cosmic Dawn, it's going to be played. What's potentially debatable, although I like this one personally, is Terminal Ending Darkness. Big Ripper. So, Big Ripper. What does she do? One effect, when she's put on Guardian Circle, you Soul Blast one, a little bit of a touchy subject with Link Joker, especially like Chaos and whatnot, and you lock one or more of your back row rear guards. They don't have to be stand, they can be rest. This unit gets 10k power until end of that battle. Just 10k. Doesn't scale up, just 10k, right? So we're talking like Destiny Guardian level. If you have 2 or more lock cards, you draw a card. Okay, that's cool. That's not bad. You know, it gets 10k, so it's very much like Destiny Guardian, but unlike Destiny Guardian, which had to unlock cards, this one actually locks them up yourself, so you take your pick, right? It's the opposite side of the spectrum. It does have a Soul Blast, which is a little bit yikes, but unlike Destiny Guardian, you do get that draw, which makes up for the card advantage. I do love me that draw. Here's the thing. Link Joker doesn't necessarily have the greatest G guards. They have strong G guards situationally speaking, aside from like Destiny Guardian, right? Destiny Guardian's somewhat situational by the unlocks. Maxwell has like a lock as well, but this one locks as well, so I think this kind of power creeps Maxwell if you ask me. You have Lacus Karina, which can be cool as a disruption depending on the situation. Aqua Force. But if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But here's the thing. Lacus Karina doesn't really get shield. Maxwell is not that big. And the Lady Healer G-Guard is Messiah specific. So this one isn't Messiah specific. So this is still a pretty beefy shield, but it gets you the card, so that could be another shield on top of that. So you can consider it one of your better G-Guards now. So I think this is right up there with Destiny Guardian, meaning you're probably going to run it as like a 1 or a 2-0. So yeah, pretty solid. You know, it's not bombastic or anything. It's not the Nubatama G-Guard now, or the Shadow Paladin G-Guard, which may be like top 3 G-Guard along with the Nubatama one and the Dimension Police one. But we're gonna get more G-Guards later on, right? So that could change. But yeah, Big Ripper, pretty good. And overall, yeah, Link Joker's got new toys. We're gonna probably see these be played. They're not gonna be like super bombastic, but they're above the average, and that's what we want, right? We want above the average. We want something that maybe has a little bit of the spice, but it's more than, like, it's not just playable, but it's playable enough to be played, as odd as that sounds. All right, but we don't stop here, because we're going on to the next one. All right, back yet again. Genesis, yet another one I was curious about. Wow, we're running down the list of clans at this point. I mean, what do we have left? We have like Neo Nectar, and what else do we have? I think Murakumo hasn't gotten their stride yet. Angels haven't got their stride yet. So there's a little bit more left. We're probably going to be done by the end of this week, right, fellas? So anyway, Genesis. What do we got here? So convoluted name, as is Genesis tradition. It is Heavenly Dragon of Souls. Jagdanargluga. You could pay me money, and I'd have to refund you for trying to pronounce his name. Now, what do we got here? 2 effects. Alright. Oh, baby, a double. Auto on Van once per turn. When this unit attacks, you flip 1 card in your G-Zone face up. Then choose any number of cards with different grades from your drop zone. Put them to souls. Souls, question mark. And this unit gets power plus 10k until end of turn. Okay. If your opponent puts a unit on Guardian Circle, this is the second effect, from anywhere besides the deck, so Slimy Flare gets around this, you Soul Blast 3 and retire that unit. And your opponent looks at the top card of their deck and puts it on the Guardian Circle. This is a Genesis stride that doesn't help Genesis. I don't understand it. What, how, why? So, here, let's get this straight. It ostensibly builds up your soul, right? It gets some power, yay, whatever, right? Everything gets power. It flips up G just to like get some cards from your drop zone, put them in your soul. Yeah, cool, woo, all right. You can potentially get 5 if you're playing Astral Poet. Yeah, okay, but when your opponent guards, other than Slimy Flare or whatever, you Soul Blast 3 to retire it. Cool, so it's like an alternative to Balinera, albeit I think I like Balonera a little bit better. And your opponent looks at the top card of their deck, calls it to Guardian Circle. What? Really? You couldn't just get rid of it? Hell, you could have got rid of it and nullified the effects. Hell, that would have been pretty spicy. That would have been pretty good, not gonna lie. But as it stands, I don't know what you're supposed to do with it. Just build Soul, potentially can swap out a Guardian, as weird as that sounds, and then that's it. It doesn't do anything else productive. Why do you play this? We still got plenty of other things. We got the Marduk Stride, we got the Minerva Stride, we still have freaking what, you know, United Sanctuary does, which is you got like your Ultima and whatnot. You got plenty of strides that Genesis can use, right? Now, Genesis doesn't have the most plentiful strides, but by that token, they don't need really good strides, so I guess they didn't need this, right? And they're not going to need it. This might be the worst stride I've seen. I mean, bro, I like Balakart better. Balakart, the Kagero one, I like that better than this, you know? What a disappointment. So, Heavenly Support Dragon, something, I think that's like Indian, Middle Eastern, I don't know. Freaking, I don't speak the language, right? We got a hell of an effect. When this unit's put on Guardian Circle, you put a card from your hand or one of your rear guards to Soul. And this unit gets plus 10k shield at the end of that battle. But you can, in addition to that, put a total of 2 cards from hand or rear, again, in addition to the one that you put already. Choose one of your opponent's units, and it gets critical -2 until the end of the turn. Good effects, terrible costs. Sure, you're putting him to Soul, still -3. Just to potentially get 10k shield and -2 crit. Yeah, I don't know what was up with Genesis this set, guys. I don't have a lot to say here. It's just doo-doo. Probably the worst ones. Probably gonna get memed on a little bit. Not sure. I haven't seen memes about it, but who knows? Maybe I'll make a meme myself because these aren't hot, Chief. This isn't it, Chief. This isn't it. I'm actually kind of like lost of words. I can't say much else. There's not a lot I can say about it. It's just bad. It's not good. Don't play these. Probably. But I don't see playing these. Just negs and like the Stride doesn't service any game plan really. The G-Guard, not worth it because you neg far too much. You're weakening your defenses, if anything. I don't see you doing this. You got plenty of other good G-Guards already. So yeah, that's Genesis. Kind of disappointing, but hey, we got another reveal still to move on to, so we're not going to end on a low light, fortunately. See you there. Now we're back. Final one. Pale Moon. What do we got? Well, better than Genesis reveals, I'll tell you that. So sad. Okay, so we've got Enchantment Mega Trick Leontina. So Leontina has one effect. Want me to say it? Alright, I'll say it. But it's a doozy of an effect. When this unit attacks on Van, you counterblast 1 and discard a card from hand and put all of your rear guards into Soul. Classic Pale Moon. For each card put in your Soul, choose up to 2 unit cards from your Soul, call them to rear. If you called 4 or more, though, with different grades, until end of turn, when your opponent would call cards from hand to Guardian Circle, they must call 2 or more at the same time. The different grades is kind of important. This isn't like, you know, like you just call out a bunch of like 2s and 1s or whatever. No, you gotta do different grades, which fortunately we do have pretty nutty grade 0 called Cat and High Boots or something like that. It's a grade 0. That's such a good it's such a good extender for with like the Magia restriction. Really cool card, that thing. Cool cat, right? So that plus a 1, 2, and 3, there you go. There's even 4 you can play in this deck, right? Like Starry Pop or whatnot. If you're playing Hari, which yeah, Hari can probably play this. So what do I think of this? This is fan-freaking-tastic. This card, like coming fresh off the Genesis reveals, this card blows me away, right? Because think of all this does, right? You counterblast 1 and discard, which is okay. This is a fair cost, so this is a fair card, but you suck up all of your cards, but then even though you have to suck up all of them, you don't choose, you suck up all of them. bro, you literally can just double your field advantage potentially. Let's say, for instance, because you get an Excel when you ride a grade 3. So let's say you just called 3 units to the front row. They're kind of weak attacks or whatever, right? But then you suck up 3, and then you come out with 6. I mean, come on. That's a plus. I mean, if you include the discard holistically, that's a +2. Pretty good +2, right? With extra 3 attacks minimum. That is an extra 3 attacks minimum. And if you're a cool cat and you got a bunch of different grades, it's got Battle Door on top of it. And because this triggers when it attacks, the Battle Door also applies for this van swing that's currently being engaged in. Yes, it does that. So you got 4 attacks minimum then that has Battle Door. That's pretty good, especially since if you're just poking a bit, that's perfect for Battle Door, because then they either just take the damage or you just be petty and ask them for more shield than they honestly needed to guard with. So yeah, Leotina, I'm seeing this played. I'm almost certain. Generally, when it comes to the G zones of Pale Moon, I've noticed, I have a Pale Moon buddy who will back me up on this. You generally have a couple flex spots anyway. It's not completely like chalked to the brim with like good stuff. You have a couple of your other strides that are like fantastic, the Hari stride, and then you have the one stride that I think they got from the last set, which just gives you an Excel or whatever, right? That thing's also pretty nuts. But yeah, so you got like 3 other really good strides, and you play them, then you play this, get your G guards in, and there you go. You got the complete package now. I think Pale Moon's G zone is pretty freaking complete. But speaking of G guards, we've got Jester Magic Beast Flexion Chimera. Cool name, it's a very Pale Moon name, right? So, okay, when this unit is put on Guardian Circle, cost is put 1 or more cards from your hand to soul, getting PTSD of the Genesis G guard. But this one's better. So, okay, this unit gets 10k shield at end of turn until end of battle. I keep on saying end of turn. Until end of battle for each card put in your soul for this cost. Why couldn't the Genesis one do this? This scales, okay, but it goes even further, right? It does more. It does more. If you put 2 or more cards in your soul for this cost, incentivizing it, your opponent chooses one of their stand rear guards and puts it into their soul. Yeah, so it's a lot like Leotina. There's many things to appreciate about this. It can be beefy as a mother effer. You're kind of converting, in theory, your weak shields into bigger shield for this one attack. On top of putting him in the soul, which means you're actively filling up the barrel of your gun for your units that are going to be attacking next turn. And if you put 2 or more into the soul for this cost, guess what? You make the opponent neg 1. But it's a potentially impactful neg 1, because even though they choose, if you time this right, not only did they neg 1, they lost an attack. Maybe even more that was going to restand. That's so messed up. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it so much. It's so good. Yeah. This is another really good G-Guard. I mean, this is probably in the more upper echelon. I'm not sure if it's the best G-Guard, but it's pretty freaking cool. I like it a lot. Like, sure, okay, you neg 1 to get the shield, but then you neg 2, they're negging 1, and you're negging an attack. So it's a very fair card, which is why I don't think it's like the creme de la creme, but I can see this being played because, let's be real, Pale Moon G-Zone, in terms of like their G-Guards, they're pretty cool, but they didn't have like the beefiest shields for the most part. I think they did have one that like scaled, but yeah, they didn't have like the beefiest shield. So this is a way to get a beefier shield potentially. So yeah, overall Pale Moon eating pretty well. And that'll do it for today. Oh yeah, college didn't stop me from making this one heck of a video, did it? Overall, what did I like the best today? That's a very good question. Honestly, I think the real MVP in terms of just like, bam, really cool stuff, right, has to go to, in terms of strides, I like the Leotina stride the best. And in terms of G-Guards, it's got to go to the Nubatama G-Guard. Just amazing stuff. And yeah, some good stuff happening, also some poor stuff, although I think if we're looking more holistically, like G-Guard and stride being taken together, Bermuda, yeah, probably the winner of this particular video here, isn't it? Yeah, it probably is. It's really unfortunate for me to say, but hey, you know, some people actually love Bermuda, and not just for the waifu aspect. So, you know what? Godspeed, you guys got your day, right? Christmas came early. And, I don't think there's anything else really much to say. I am looking forward to the rest of the reviews. Let's see what, like, Angel, Neos, Murakumo, let's see what they all get. Maybe we'll get some more spice even still. I can see a couple things happening. The Neo Stride is actually on the cover, so, hey, maybe they're going to give Neos a really good power-up. You know, Asha, right? Musketeers, what can they do in premium after this stride? Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's everything. We're going to have to wait and see, right? Comment down below if there's anything I missed with regards to these reveals, or if I'm like gassing them up, booing them too much. Do you guys think the Nubatama stride is secretly poggers? Am I too much of an idiot to understand Genesis and it's secretly stonks? Let me know. And with that, take care. God bless.